We're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and start making money for the country.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Rantoinette. Happy New Year. Let's see what kind of fresh hell 2026 has in store for us. I'm sure everybody is already aware of what's going on in Venezuela. Trump extrajudicially attacked Venezuela. He's breaking international law and domestic law. He's wiping his ass with the Constitution and the Geneva Convention. We're watching basically the Three Stooges do imperialism, and it is just absolutely disgusting. I have been collecting a whole bunch of different articles and clips over this, and I wanted to get through as much of this as I possibly can and try to keep it as short as humanly possible. Of course, you know me, I have a very difficult time keeping my mouth shut. So before I get started, if you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd really appreciate that. It helps me out considerably, especially considering YouTube definitely pushes down news and politics in the algorithm. So any kinds of likes or subs out there that you could give me would be greatly appreciated. So without any further ado, let's get into this fresh hell. This was the overnight hours of January 2nd into January 3rd, and it is definitely scary times. I feel really bad for the people of Venezuela and the capital city, Caracas. This is what they were dealing with, and it looks very much like their own personal 9/11 that we perpetrated on them.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela.
Venezuela. Boy, he looks like shit.
Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. The men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Yeah, I have a hard time saying that word too. Judicious. Yeah, we bombed their airports too. Here's the perp walk. That's what we wanted. We wanted to get that perp walk. Get it on camera, very propagandistic. He's over here wishing people Happy New Year.
Exigimos.
This is the vice president who has now had power placed upon her. She seems to be, and I say seems to be because we're not 100% sure. Not a lot of information is out about this, but she seems to be defending Maduro at this moment, but some people are saying that she was the one that gave the inside information to CIA and the Delta Force on how to take out Maduro. Earlier today, I've heard that there are Venezuelan military on the streets. They're all decked out in their gear. There's tanks rolling down the streets, and not 100% sure whether or not it's her, the vice president, who's running everything, or if the defense minister, who is still alive at this moment, is trying to take command over Venezuela. From what she is saying here, and this could be under duress, but here she is saying, we demand the immediate liberation of President Nicolas Maduro. All right, let's move on to Donald Trump. The next morning, he goes through his little rigmarole saying, oh, we had an exciting night last night, and our special forces are the best special forces of all time. American might at its finest. We didn't lose anybody. There's a couple of injuries, no big deal. Never mind the fact that there was like reports of over 100 Venezuelans being killed, but you know, collateral damage and all that.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation. That
a safe, judicious transition, but we want to make sure that it's somebody that we like. how can it be judicious? How can it be proper elections if, let's just say that they choose somebody you don't like? Are you going to take them out too? Because ultimately, that's what it sounds like.
We had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace,
Right.
liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela.
5 minutes ago, it was Tren de Aragua. Every Venezuelan in America is Tren de Aragua, and they're all terrorists, and we all need to send them to fucking Bukele's dungeon in El Salvador. But sure, man, the wonderful people of Venezuela, 100 of which you killed the night before.
That includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland.
That is a, hey, Venezuelans here living in this country. Once we take care of this country, we're sending your ass back. So don't get comfortable here in America, just in case you were wondering.
We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind.
Or the good of our oil companies, our great American oil companies. Got to make sure that we're all on the same page, folks.
So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust.
Of course it is. It's always been about the fucking oil. George W. Trump.
For a long period of time, they were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place.
I thought it was about the fentanyl and the cocaine and the drug boats. Do you mean to tell me we've killed over 100 fishermen and a shitload of boats in the Caribbean because of oil, or was it because of drugs? Which one was it, man? I love everybody running cover for Donald Trump going, no, it's the drugs. It's absolutely the drugs. And then he just gets out here and goes, it's the oil. Of course it was about the oil.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure.
Because of our sanctions, decades and decades of American sanctions, because they had the audacity to nationalize their own oil. Didn't they know whose oil that was that they were sitting on? Didn't they know that that was American oil? What's wrong with these people?
The oil infrastructure and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to.
That right there was a threat to the vice president. So you better do exactly what we want, or else there's a second larger attack waiting for your ass.
We needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not.
God, he
This
sounds like
partnership of
shit.
Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of
The oil?
what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe.
Honey, this has got nothing to do with the Venezuelan people. This has got to do with Exxon and Gulf and Chevron. It's got nothing to do with those people. And by the way, if you're thinking, oh my God, there's going to be so much oil poured on the market, that means gasoline prices are going to go down. That did not happen in 2003 when we did this shit to Iraq. It sure as shit is not going to happen now. The only pockets that are going to get filled from this are CEOs and executives at these major oil companies that Donald Trump loves so goddamn much. Moving on. We don't need to hear any more of this nonsense. He watched all this, not from the Situation Room, not from a secure room in the White House, but at Mar-a-Lago with black curtains surrounding him. So yeah, a real secure location. But this is fact-checking some of the claims here. Venezuela stole the oil in the past. This is ridiculous. This whole idea of you guys are sitting on our oil. in their sovereign country, but it's our oil. In the early 20th century, Venezuela's long-serving dictator, Juan Vincent Gomez, allowed foreign companies almost exclusive access to the country's oil reserves. In 1975, though, after decades of seeking greater control of its own oil resources, Venezuela nationalized its oil industry, which pissed off America because we want access to their oil. Trump's claim that Venezuela has stolen oil and land from the U.S. is baseless. U.S. oil companies, including Exxon, Mobil, Gulf, and now Chevron, have lost about $5 billion each in assets and were compensated by the U.S. government $1 billion each, according to news reports. Oh, by the way, I thought he was the peace president, guys. He's bombed like 10 countries in his first year. 10 countries, but he's the peace guy. He's really pissed off he didn't get that peace prize. Thank God FIFA was able to give him his participation trophy, peace prize, the FIFA peace prize. Get the fuck out of here. So all of you MAGA types out there who thought this guy was about peace, are you making excuses for him now? Because I think you probably are. That just means that you're sitting in the fucking cuck chair. Bunch of bitches. Here's Trump on New Year's Eve, about to go to a party to celebrate the new year, and one of the reporters asked him an interesting question. Peace on earth, folks. Peace on earth. Never mind the fact that on Christmas Day, he bombed Nigeria, just bombed a shitload of villages in Nigeria, just because he don't like shithole countries. And 2 days after this bullshit peace on earth statement, he is attacking Venezuela. So yeah, man, the peace president. Come on. What are we talking about here? So Donald Trump thinks he's fucking clever, and he's taken the old Monroe Doctrine and now referring to it as the Donroe Doctrine. A lot of people are saying it. A lot of people are saying the Donroe Doctrine. It is just a brilliant thing, the Donroe Doctrine. Now, if you really want to know a reason why we did this particular general, a woman, so a woke general, she just comes right up out of her face hole with the truth. And it reminds me so much of what Smedley Butler wrote about all those years ago, war being a racket. Of course, that was back when he was protecting American interest in banana rights. But now it's about other things. Let's let General Laura J. Richardson give you the real reason.
With Russia relationships, why this region matters with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. You just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well with oil, copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world.
I love how she says we have it. No, honey, it's theirs. Just because you think it's our backyard, those are sovereign countries that you're talking about. I guess Donald Trump is going, you're next.
We have 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security, and we need to step up our game.
Would you look at that? Even women can be fascist. Now, the other day I put out a quick video about the invasion. I woke up Saturday morning and I saw what we had done to Venezuela. And the first thing that popped in my mind was that Maria Corina Machado lady was going to take the reins. And I just wanted to say, it looks like I was wrong about that. But the reason why I thought it is she was on Don Jr. not too long ago. I did a video on this, and I just wanted to give you just a quick recap of the kind of psychotic demon this woman is.
The country, the resources, everything. You know, why should Americans care right now?
Well, first of all, Venezuela should be one of the richest, wealthiest countries in the world because of everything we have, not only oil and gas and natural resources and great lands and great talented people, but we got socialism, corrupt Chavista socialism, and it destroyed everything. And it turned Venezuela into the criminal.
It was just the socialism. That's what did it. It had nothing to do with American sanctions for decades. That didn't have anything to do with it. It was just the socialism. But sure, honey, go on with your bad self.
A safe haven for all the enemies of Western democracies and the United States. And from here, Venezuela represents a true threat for the safety and prosperity of the United States. So that's why I think it is very important for American people to understand what's at stake here, not only for Venezuelans, certainly, but for all of you. And I will mention only three.
All of my people in Venezuela are a threat to your people in the United States. That's why you should put me in charge. And this woman right here won the fucking Nobel Peace Prize and dedicated it to Donald Trump. But at the same time, that might have been her downfall. Let me show you this. A reporter asked Donald Trump at this past press conference whether or not she, Maria Corina Machado, was going to be taking over. And this is what he had to say.
Of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday...
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Is it possible?
No, it would be really tough for her. I don't think she'd be able to pull it off. But here's an interesting theory. Two people close to the White House said that the president's lack of interest in boosting Machado, despite her recent efforts to flatter Trump, stemmed from her decision to accept the Nobel Peace Prize, an award the president has openly coveted. If she had turned it down and said, I can't accept it because it's Donald Trump's, she'd be the president of Venezuela right now, this person said. Donald Trump is proudly bought and paid for by big oil and gas. I remember back in 2024 and the run up to the election, there was an interesting story that came out. I believe it was the Washington Post. And the report was about Donald Trump asking all of the oil companies to gather together $1 billion to give to him so they could have a little return on investment. And would you look at that? Invasion of Venezuela. He has done the quid and the pro for the quo, or is it the other way around? Here is the quote. Donald Trump asked big oil and gas CEOs to give him $1 billion to his campaign and vowed to immediately roll back environmental regulations if reelected. What Trump promised oil CEOs as he asked them to steer $1 billion to his campaign. You are wealthy enough that you should be able to raise $1 billion to return me to the White House. And I will make sure that you get that sweet white crude that they have down there in Venezuela. Giving me $1 billion would be a great deal. I just thought that was a little interesting addendum because I did remember that he asked them to give him $1 billion. I don't know if they gave him the billion, but Donald Trump definitely gave them what they wanted. Here's a golden oldie. There's Dick Cheney right there. Looking all svelte and not dead like he is right now. But the quote is, my belief is we will, in fact, be greeted as liberators. I think it will go relatively quickly in weeks rather than months. And here we are 20 plus years later and we're still in Iraq. How did that work out, Dick Cheney? Maduro and Saddam Hussein. Boy, they look alike, don't they? Do you think it's just brown guys with mustaches? Is that what it is with America? Or is it that they're sitting on all of our oil? And just a reminder, this was the propaganda that they showed us on television, running on every news channel, far and wide. The Iraqi people were so happy that we invaded and we took out their leader that they tore down his statue. There it goes. They're just so damn happy. They're cheering, folks. They're cheering. They're throwing flowers at our feet, man. They're so excited. Am I defending Maduro? Am I defending Saddam Hussein? No, I am not. They were both really bad. As a matter of fact, Saddam Hussein was bad back when we were supporting him when he was fighting Iran. And I didn't think he was a good guy back then. He certainly wasn't a good guy at this point, but it's not really about us taking out bad guys. It's about the oil. Iraqis' joy at Saddam's arrest quickly fade. On Sunday, the streets of Baghdad ran with celebratory gunfire and shouts of joy as Iraqis caught the news of Saddam Hussein's arrest. By the next morning, though, many Iraqis' mood had soured. Yeah, and there's probably a reason for that, because we killed probably roughly anywhere between 500,000 and 1 million Iraqis. And then there was over 2, almost 3 million Iraqis that ended up migrating to other places like Europe. Tears of relief and questions about what comes next. Venezuela and U.S. celebrate Maduro's capture. Sound familiar? You should. I just showed you a fucking video where they were so excited about it, but it's probably not going to work out too great for them. I have a feeling. Here's some helpful community notes. Our favorite closeted right-wing podcaster, Benny Johnson. Massive crowds have taken to the streets of Venezuela to celebrate President Trump's capture of the dictator, Nicolas Maduro. Someone should show this to the Democrats and the corporate media. And then at the bottom it says, yo man, this is Santiago, Chile, not the streets of Venezuela. Benny Johnson, the next contestant on Fell for It Again. Wall Street Apes, which was retweeted by Elon Musk. And this is Venezuelans are crying on their knees, thanking Trump and America for freeing them from Nicolas Maduro. The readers added some context. This is generated AI. All right, moving on to more pertinent people. We've got Attorney General Pam Blandy. Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. How we're able to do this and indict somebody in our country, a leader of a foreign country, is absolutely beyond me. Nicolas Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy. Donald Trump just a month ago pardoned the old president of Honduras, a huge narco drug trafficker, like $400 million worth of cocaine. But we're charging Maduro with cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices. Honey, we sell guns at Walmart here in America. What in the absolute fuck are you talking about? If American courts still have any salt left in them, they will throw this shit out. And of course, Maduro has already pled not guilty to this. It's just going to be a fucking kangaroo court. J.D. Vance, the vice president, actually, let me explain something to you. JD's Pants puts out a post on Twitter. PSA, see what I mean? Actually, for everyone saying that this was illegal, Maduro has multiple indictments in the United States for narco-terrorism. You don't get to avoid justice for drug trafficking in the United States because you live in a palace in Caracas. Okay, man. You keep butching up by wearing that gender-affirming beard. James Serwecki makes a good argument. This argument means that anytime a president wants to invade a country legally, he just has to get his own Department of Justice to indict the country's leader. It makes congressional power to declare war totally meaningless. That's a valid point. So is that what we're going to do from now on? We're just going to indict them on some trumped up charge, no pun intended, and then drag them out of their own country and prosecute them in our own American justice system? Doesn't sound like justice to me. And here is Elon Musk, just a couple of months ago, was saying Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and I know because I'm in them too. Okay, and congratulations, President Trump. This is a win for the world and a clear message to evil dictators everywhere. What, that a bigger evil dictator will take you hostage and kidnap you? I know that everybody's saying that he was captured and detained, but no, man, he was abducted. He was kidnapped illegally. Back in 2002, 2003, leading up to the invasion of Iraq, there was a lot of propaganda, and mainstream media was basically stenographers for military leaders and George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They did such a good job, and it took them about a year and a half to get everybody acclimated to the idea that Saddam Hussein was basically the same guy as Osama bin Laden, and we needed to get revenge on somebody. Iraq will do just fine. They happen to be sitting on a lot of oil that we want so badly. But this time it has not been as much propaganda. They're trying to get twice the amount of sex with half the foreplay, and you get takes like this.
How much oil does Venezuela have? According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the South American country is sitting on a massive 303 billion barrels worth of crude oil. In fact, Venezuela leads all countries, even outnumbering Saudi Arabia and representing almost 20% of global reserves in 2023. In announcing the capture of Nicolás Maduro, President Donald Trump said that American oil companies are going to invest billions of dollars in Venezuela and fix the bad.
Venezuelan oil, it's not like other people's oil. They would need to retrofit a lot of their machinery to be able to refine this because it's a different kind of crude. But I love how he says that American oil companies are going to be investing in the infrastructure, billions of dollars into the infrastructure to extract trillions of dollars worth of wealth. So good ROI on that one.
Most of Venezuela's oil, about 68%, is bought by China, followed by the United States with 23%.
You mean we were able to buy some oil from them? Oh, wow. I had no idea that we could actually buy it from them. I guess Donald Trump wants to pass by that middleman. You know, it seems like a big hassle to actually have to spend money and buy their oil from him when we could just fucking take it.
The kind of oil Venezuela is sitting on requires special equipment and a high level of technical prowess to produce.
We have the best oil companies. I'm sure they'll be able to pull it off, folks. I remember this so vividly back in 2002 when they were banging the war drum heading into invading Iraq. And the mainstream media was flooding us with military leaders and politicians wanting to support this war. Lots and lots of military people being brought on the news, and all of the talking heads were just sitting there with bated breath going, "Oh, tell us, General Sir, what you're going to do, how many bombs you're going to drop, and how strong our military is." Well, we're doing it again. You know, you would want to get a retired military commander to explain to us what's going on with the military, but he's got a different idea of what he wants to talk about. And by the way, he looks like he's standing up there like fucking Harry Enton doing little circles on the screen. What the fuck is this, man? Now we have military leaders up here doing the job of news reporters?
303 billion barrels of oil reserves. And you compare that, it's the biggest set of oil reserves in the entire world. Bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia, bigger than the UAE. Lots of oil. But the problem is the infrastructure actually is decrepit. It is not producing the oil that it needs to.
All right, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Layton, thank you so much.
Thanks, retired colonel from the Air Force. Come on our show anytime you like and spin us a yarn of empire. By the way, it's not just the oil companies that are really happy about this. Wall Street is already at the ready post Nicolas Maduro's capture by the U.S. forces. About 20 business leaders, including those from the top hedge funds and asset managers, are prepared to go on a March trip to Venezuela to look at investment opportunities. They're including energy and infrastructure. Man, everybody's going to get paid but you, the American people. You wonder why you can't have fucking healthcare? This is why. We call them dictators and then we take them down, baby. That's how it's done in America. And then we steal your shit. Marco Rubio goes on Face the Nation, and right out of the gate, she asks him an important question, but his answer is pretty lackluster at best.
President Trump said that the United States will run the country and that Venezuela will be largely run by, he pointed to you and some of the other cabinet members.
I mean, he's already wearing like 12 hats. Why not wear an extra one? Now he's running Venezuela.
When he spoke to the public yesterday, he said the U.S. retains all military options, including boots on the ground.
Don't kid yourself, folks. The only way to make sure that that oil is secure is to have military boots on the ground. Smedley Butler was right. War is a racket. We use military to ensure that corporations get a return on investment.
Until U.S. demands have been fully met, how do you plan to run the country?
Well, first of all, I think the important thing to point out is that the key to what that regime relies on and is their economy fueled by oil. And right now, it is an oil industry that is backwards and really needs a lot of help and work in terms of it. And not only that, but it doesn't help the people. None of the money from the oil gets to the people. It's all stolen by the...
The money is not going to get to the people after this either, folks. It's not going to come to you, and it's not going to go to the Venezuelan people.
People that are on the top there. And so that's why we have a quarantine. There's a quarantine right now in which sanctioned oil shipments, there's a boat, and that boat is under U.S. sanctions. We go get a court order, we will seize it.
Oh, is that what we're calling it? When we do piracy on the high seas and we take shipping tankers and oil tankers, we're calling that a quarantine. Gotcha. Just making sure.
It's in place. And that's a tremendous amount of leverage that will continue to be in place until we see changes that not just further the national interest of the United States, which is number one.
Should have just said the corporation of the United States. No need standing on ceremony anymore. We are run by oil companies.
Also that lead to a better future for the people of Venezuela. And so that's the sort of control the president is pointing to when he says that. We continue with that quarantine. And we expect to see that there will be changes, not just in the way the oil industry is run for the benefit of the people, but also so that they stop the drug trafficking, so that we no longer have these gang problems, so that they kick the FARC.
Why are you talking about drug trafficking, man? We're past that. That was a lie. We all know it was a lie. Donald Trump just said it was about the fucking oil. Why are you still going on about drug trafficking?
And the ELN out, and that they no longer cozy up to Hezbollah and Iran in our own hemisphere.
Here we go again, man. He's been saying this for a while now. It is absolute horseshit. Hezbollah is over there in the Middle East. This has got absolutely fuck all to do with Venezuela. But they are trying to make this correlation. Narcotics trafficking, narco, and terrorism, so we can use the authorization to use of military force, the AUMF. And we're putting those two things together so we can have a justification to invade whatever country we want. All we got to accuse them of is being some kind of terrorist, and then we can invade your country. And by the way, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming before the new year. Once he took that first ship, it was on like Donkey Kong. This is him just 11 days ago.
Seized. The United States seized 1.9 million barrels of oil on December 10th.
We're going to keep it. We're keeping it.
He didn't waste any time, folks. We're keeping it.
Where's it? Are we going to sell it or put it in the strategic?
Maybe we'll sell it. Maybe we'll keep it. Maybe we'll use it in the strategic reserves. We're keeping it. We're keeping the ships also.
I'm Donald Trump the pirate. Call me Peg Leg Don.
Yeah, please.
About Venezuela, sir, have you spoken to American oil companies that have had their assets seized about what a post-Maduro Venezuela would mean for them, of what coming back and restarting operations?
The big ones, yeah. I have.
I talked to all the big ones. They're really excited. Everybody's dick is so hard for this invasion.
Yeah, please.
Why should Maduro take your threat seriously? And
he can do whatever he wants.
What's your end game?
Maduro?
What's your end game?
There's no answer. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have a massive armada formed.
Rumor has it that he was more pissed off that Maduro was doing little dances and he was able to keep time while Donald Trump does his little double dick YMCA dance. He is that petty that I actually kind of believe that.
The biggest we've ever had, and by far the biggest we've ever had in South America. He can do whatever he wants. It's all right. Whatever he wants to do. If he wants to do something.
The dance.
If he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough.
I'm a tough guy.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro criticized the United States by saying, well, the Southwest is stolen land and that it should be returned to Latin America.
It's true, though. The Southwest is stolen land from Mexico, and it should be returned. Gustavo Petro, man, he has got balls. He is not mincing any words. I remember when he was here not too long ago at the UN, and he was talking a lot of shit about Donald Trump. I kind of love it.
I wanted to know what your response to that is.
Well, he has to watch because, you know, he's got drug factories. They make cocaine in Colombia. And he's no friend of the United States. He's a very bad guy. And he's got to watch his ass because he makes cocaine and they send it into...
Honey, he doesn't make cocaine. Cocaine is made in the country well before he became the leader of Colombia.
The United States of America from Colombia. We love the Colombian people.
No, you don't.
I love the Colombian people.
No, you don't.
They're great people.
No, you don't.
Energetic, smart, great.
You don't care.
But their new leader is a troublemaker.
Gustavo Petro had something to say about that, and he's definitely not mincing any words. A clan of pedophiles wants to destroy our democracy to keep Epstein lists from coming out. They send warships to kill fishermen and threaten our neighbor with invasion for their oil. I kind of fear for him, though, because Donald Trump is on the imperialistic tip, and he's looking to just basically take everything in our quote-unquote backyard. You know, that whole Don Roe doctrine. After President Petro made his comments, Donald Trump on Air Force One was asked about what he had to say, and he is none too happy about it.
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long.
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S. and...
It sounds good to me. Yeah.
Not going to be doing it very long. We've got all our warships down there. We've got plenty of bombs. Look, folks, it is easier to overthrow a country than it is to maintain it, as we have seen in all of our Middle East adventures. Donald Trump and his Keystone cops in the administration think that they're going to be able to just what? Take over Venezuela, take over Colombia, take over Panama, take over Greenland, take over Mexico. The war on drugs has been going on for over 50 years, and it has failed miserably. Hell, man, there was a period there when the CIA was actually helping to bring cocaine into this country. There's only one cure for fixing the drug problem, and that is to legalize, tax it, and regulate it here in the United States. Now here's our tough guy, our opposition leader, Chuck the Strong Man Schumer, man. He's got some stuff to say.
Reckless, it is dangerous. Whenever our country has gotten involved in this kind of regime change and nation building, American families pay the price in blood and treasure. That's what happened in Iraq. That's what happened in Libya.
By the way, Chuck Schumer voted for the war in Iraq.
It's happened over and over again. So it's reckless. And then last night, Trump doubles down and says, well, maybe we'll do this in Colombia. Yeah. Maybe we'll do it in Cuba, even Greenland. And the American people are scratching their heads and saying, this is not what Trump said he would do. This is not what we bargained for. This is not America first. Everyone's saying, what the hell is going on in the White House? And Trump seems to just do this on an ad hoc basis, contradicted by his own people. It is reckless and dangerous. And we have the War Powers Act, which you mentioned.
I don't really like that guy Maduro either. I really don't like him. But, you know, I mean, he should have just asked us first. We probably would have just given him permission to do it if he'd have just asked, but he didn't ask.
I have the right to put that on the floor. Tim Kaine is the sponsor along with myself and Rand Paul, so it's bipartisan to a degree. And the Republicans must, if there was ever a time they must step up to the plate, this is the time. And they're going to, if they don't, they're going to feel the heat from their constituents.
They're not going to get anything from me. I'm not going to put up any fuss about it. Do you really think these spineless Republicans in the House and the Senate are going to stand up to Donald Trump? They haven't done it in the last 10 fucking years, man. They sure as shit are not going to start right now. If they don't get their act together, they're going to really hear it from their constituents. God, man, he's so fucking weak sauce. Going back to the press, the stenographers for war, we got the New York Times, you know, the old gray lady, the paper of record. Come on, man. And theirs is Venezuela accuses U.S. of carrying out attacks on the Capitol. It's kind of a fait accompli at this point, but this was written on January 3rd. And I love this guy, Adam Johnson. He's like, you know, it could have been Azerbaijan or Sweden. So the New York Times is right to hedge their bets a little bit here. Aaron Rupar is always putting out good stuff on Twitter.
Your RNC speech, and you were saying that regime change and nation building.
Where?
When you were speaking at the RNC back in 2016, you were criticizing regime change and nation building, the U.S. being involved in that. It seems obviously that your stance has changed on that. What led to that? And is the U.S. nation building now? Is that
This isn't a country that's on the other side of the world. This isn't a country like where you have to travel 24 hours in an airplane. This is Venezuela. It's in our area. The Don Road Doctrine.
So is that what you...
The Don Road Doctrine. It's just a quick cab ride from D.C. down to Venezuela. I remember in that 2016 Republican debate where he laid into Jeb Bush saying that the war in Iraq was a big, huge mistake and it was all his brother's fault, George W. Bush. We'll never do that under my leadership, and here we are fucking doing it. MAGA, where you at, man? Oh, I'm sure you're working your way through the excuse book. Well, now that he has invaded Venezuela, Trump is definitely feeling his oats, although he is looking like absolute shit in this. But now he's talking about all the new countries that he wants to invade.
Expect to take an action against Greenland.
Well, I don't want to talk about Greenland. Let's talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days.
By the way, right beside him, you can't see him in this picture, but Lindsey Graham is standing right beside him. He's like that little dog cartoon. Is like, yeah, Butch, you're going to get him. You're going to get him, Butch. You're a tough guy. Mr. Trump, he's the tough guy. You're my daddy now.
On Venezuela, we talk so much about energy.
By the way, I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it.
From the standpoint of national security, we need Greenland, and Peter Thiel is constantly humping my leg, telling me that he wants it so bad, and he gave me a lot of money, so I'm going to have to give it to him. So it's not just Venezuela, and it's not just Greenland, and it's not just Colombia, it's also Cuba, and Marco Rubio has had a hard-on for Cuba for a long-ass time, and now he's saying that they are in a lot of trouble too. If you ever wanted to know why we don't have healthcare, why we don't have social safety net, why we do not build houses or secure our own fucking infrastructure here in America, is because we are desperately trying to take over every fucking nation that we consider in our backyard. Like I said, Lindsey Graham was on Air Force One, and he is just bouncing up and down. He's just so excited to be here. Look at him. He's so happy to be here. He's got a new daddy. It's not John McCain anymore. Donald Trump is his new daddy, and he is just happier than a pig in shit to be on Air Force One and watching the bombs fall and watching the carnage. He loves that shit.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall.
Look at him bouncing around.
But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally...
Don't cough on me, Lindsey. So he's going after Cuba too, folks. This is Republican Congressman Pat Ryan from the 18th District in New York. He's actually an Iraqi war vet, and he's got some interesting thoughts on what just happened.
Of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Now we all know that was complete bullshit. And it was my fellow soldiers and I who paid the price fighting in a war predicated on a bunch of lies.
President Donald Trump says the United States will strike Venezuela.
I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents.
Fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction.
Chemical weapons is a threat to the United States.
Fentanyl poses a chemical weapons threat to the United States.
His regime has an active support for and cooperation with terrorist networks.
Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere.
It has nothing to do with oil.
Venezuela for the American oil companies will be a field day.
And now they're trying to do the same exact thing again.
Why don't we just take over the oil?
He ain't wrong. Lies then, lies now. Stop Forever Wars, firehexeth.com. Oh God, if we could get rid of Pete Kegsbreath. I found this one pretty fascinating. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Polymarket. It is a betting site that is not allowed to operate here in America, but Americans can place bets on it. Somebody, a newly created Polymarket account, invested over $30,000 yesterday in Maduro's exit. The U.S. then took Maduro into custody overnight, and the trader profited $400,000 in less than 24 hours. Does this guy work for the American government and just place the bet on something that he knew was about to happen? It sounds that way to me. Insider trading is not only allowed on predication markets, it's encouraged. Jesus, man, our country is just going down the fucking tubes. Everybody wants to troll now. Everybody's feeling really full of themselves. Even So I Married a Nazi, Katie Miller, look at her trolling us with Greenland with the American flag draped over it, and her only comment saying soon. As if you have jack or shit to do with this, honey. Why don't you go to the kitchen and make your man a sandwich? What the fuck are you doing out here thinking like you've got anything to do with this shit, you fucking fascist, you? Jim Acosta posted this from Decoding Fox News. I just thought that this was pretty funny. This was the lead up to the election. Donald Trump is always running for election. Even when he is the president, he still thinks he's running for election. And by the way, this right here is 2.5 years ago. And man, he looks a lot different now than he did just 2.5 years ago. Let's listen to what he had to say back in April of 2023.
Because they said I had that personality to start a war. They remember that? Oh, we can't vote for him. He's going to start a war. No, I used my personality that we didn't have to have wars. I was the first president in decades who started no new wars.
He increased drone strikes by 400%. He bombed all kinds of countries that we were already at war with. And by the way, he didn't end any of them. Not one.
You started no new wars and no new wars. No new wars. We don't need the wars, foreign lands, countries you've never heard of.
I'm the peace president.
That don't even want us there. I was the first president in decades who started no new wars. I was the first president in decades.
Total peace guy.
No new wars. We will expel the warmongers from our government.
I'm just a dove.
You never got into a war with me. I have a great record. We had peace.
Kamala Harris, such a warmonger.
No wars.
No wars.
No wars.
There was no bombs.
We didn't have a war. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will expel the warmongers from our government.
And invite them to the White House.
When you see all the people that died in these horrible wars in the Middle East and everything else, countries didn't want us. Look at Trump. Just look at this guy. He's going to go to war. He's going to take us. No.
No, he would never do that.
Look at me. I'm the one that kept us out of war. You know, I'm the only president that didn't start a war.
How can he lie so brazenly and everybody just believe it? I mean, this is in 2024. It was only 4 years after his presidency. Do these people have such goldfish memories that they don't remember that shit? No new wars. God damn, what a bunch of bullshit. Now, there's an interesting theory floating around about one of the reasons why he did what he did in Venezuela. And a lot of it's got to do with the fact that Netanyahu spent New Year's Eve with Donald Trump. And a lot of people are speculating that Netanyahu pushed Donald Trump into doing this. I don't know if that's the case or not, but under the cover of everything that's been going on in Venezuela, Netanyahu has been bombing the shit out of Gaza. So there might be something to be said about that. Have a listen.
We've had an unbelievable success, and by degrading Iran, which was a first-rate power, now it's a second-rate or third-rate power. They were throwing their weight all over the place, exporting terrorism, not only to every part of the Middle East, but to Venezuela. They're in cahoots with the Maduro regime. You know,
get the fuck out of here.
To America, to the American hemisphere, and then they want these Hezbollah and Hamas to get their guys into the United States. So Hamas and Iran and its proxies are a threat not only to us, but to Israel, all America's allies in the Middle East, and to America itself.
So maybe there is something to be said about him influencing Donald Trump. I swear to God, every time those two guys get together, some bombs end up getting dropped somewhere. And by the way, U.S.-backed right-wing military coups in Latin America. Cuba, 1952. Guatemala, 1954. El Salvador, 1980. Honduras, 2009. Nicaragua, 1980. Panama, 1989. Haiti, 1959. 2004. Peru, 1962, 75. Loved doing it so much we did it twice in both of those countries. Dominican Republic in 65. Venezuela in 2002. And we're doing it again. Part deux, I guess. Bolivia, 1980. Paraguay, 1954. Brazil, 64. Chile, 1973 with Pinochet ousting Allende. Argentina in 76 and Uruguay in 1973. There's one that they missed. It happened back in 2018 where we did Bolivia for a second time. We keep doing it because we so love making sure that democratically elected leaders in South America get their just desserts. The anti-war people were out en masse the very next day on January 3rd. Anti-war organizations in the U.S. call for emergency nationwide protest. The Answer Coalition has just issued a call to action that reads, "This war is not about drug trafficking. It's not about democracy. It's about stealing Venezuela's oil and dominating Latin America. It is an outrageous escalation and a campaign of murder in international waters and piracy targeting civilian ships trading with Venezuela. We need to take to the streets and say no to another endless war. The people of this country do not want another war." In the first hour since the call was issued, 13 cities have already listed protests, including in front of the White House at 1 p.m. The organization says more cities will be posted by the morning. The listing is available at answercoalition.org. Chris Murphy went on the Powerhouse Roundtable, and he doesn't mince any words about what Donald Trump did in Venezuela.
Quickly before you go, the president said that he has made a decision, has come to a decision about Venezuela, suggesting that there could be military strikes on Venezuela. How big a step would that be, and how should Democrats react to that?
Well, it seems pretty clear it's just an effort to distract people from the rising prices and from the Epstein scandal.
Usually Republican leadership uses other things to distract from the war that they're trying to get into. Donald Trump is literally using a war to try to distract from the Epstein files, which, by the way, they still have not released.
No one wants a war with Venezuela to the extent they're claiming it has something to do with the drug trade coming into the United States. The majority of drugs don't come through the Caribbean. They come via a land route that the president is ignoring because he is so focused on this absurd, illegal military campaign against Venezuela. So I don't think he'll find much support amongst Republicans or Democrats in this country for it. And by the way, it's wildly illegal. The president can't start a war with a nation without a congressional authorization. Is just another sign of how out of control and how lawless this president is, and another signal to Democrats as to why we need to draw those firm moral lines in the sand right now to constrain his growing illegality.
Chris Murphy doesn't understand the difference between a war and a police action. We're only doing police actions around here. This is actually pretty fascinating. John Kiriakou, who is a CIA whistleblower, he is being interviewed about Venezuela, and he's got some interesting stuff to say.
Why do you think, what does the CIA think, do you think, about why they've failed in Latin America time after time after time? Of course, in Nicaragua and in Cuba and in so many other countries in Latin America, they have failed to overthrow countries, let alone a country the size of Venezuela.
The CIA is not a policy agency. It's a policy support agency. So just like with the invasion of Iraq, if the White House says do it, you have to do it, even if you're opposed to it on philosophical grounds. But you're right. The CIA, the American government in general, just never seems to learn the lesson of invasions gone bad.
We always hate all of the wars. Eventually, we get to the point where everybody is against every war that we've ever done, except for the one that we're about to go into.
It's easy to invade a country. It's easy to overthrow its government. It's exceedingly difficult to take care of things the day after. And one thing about Venezuela, too, as I just said, it would be easy to overthrow the government. We've already essentially told Maduro, just get on your plane and run away. Go to Doha, go to Havana, go to Moscow, just get on the plane and run away. The President Maduro, his private pilot, said just a few weeks ago that the CIA had approached him to try to recruit him. So in the event that Maduro were to run away, instead of landing in Havana, he would land in Miami, thinking it was Havana, and we could take him off the plane and charge him with drug trafficking. The president, just a couple of weeks ago, went on national television and said that he had signed a covert action program. Let me tell you, there is nothing that the CIA does.
The irony of that, just going out in public on camera. I just signed a covert action. It's so covert that nobody knows about it. I don't want to answer it, but I will tell you.
That is more highly classified than a covert action program. This was the first time in American history that a president ever announced one as he was signing it. The point being,
he's
to
a
put
moron.
so much pressure on Maduro that he just gets up and runs away. So to overthrow him, what do you need to do? You need to secure the presidential palace. You need to take over the radio and television stations. You need to control the major intersections in Caracas. But most importantly, you need to have the military on your side. And the Venezuelan military is on the side of President Maduro.
Yep, that's right. And that seems to be what's going on right now. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure what is going on, but at the same time, right now, the Venezuelan military is patrolling the streets. So I don't know if it's the vice president that's controlling the military or if it's the minister of defense that's controlling the military. I'm sure that this is going to shake out in the next couple of days. We'll find out soon enough. This is a pretty interesting take here. And by the way, I appreciate him using the word kidnapping as opposed to capturing or detaining. The kidnapping of Maduro is very telling. For a start, they clearly paid off everyone on their way and ensured there would be no real resistance. They did a lot of bombing. They bombed the airports. They bombed all around the palace. And apparently, Maduro didn't even make it to his safe bunker that's like steel doors and all that stuff. He wasn't able to make it. There was a gunfight that ensued at the palace. A couple of American soldiers got shot. According to Donald Trump, nobody died. But at the same time, it wasn't quite as seamless as Donald Trump led you to believe. So basically bombing the parliament and going in all guns blazing was completely unnecessary and instead a message to the world. If it's that easy, then why do it at all? They obviously knew that there would be no air defense active, that Maduro wouldn't be guarded from them. It seems that they weren't even any sirens in Caracas, yet the U.S. decided it would bomb the parliament while it was at it. Just goes to show that there is no such thing as an international law. Now we wait to see if Venezuela heads to a catastrophic civil war and whether the U.S. will leave or get bogged down there. Clearly a lot of unanswered questions right now, but one thing is obvious. This was done to send a message. And also, they bombed the remains of Chavez, which has got no military value whatsoever. It was sheerly done just to send a message. We will get rid of anything that you guys hold dear. I know you guys love Chavez. Let's make sure we bomb his remains. Yanis Varoufakis says the empire strikes back not just to grab oil and other riches, but fundamentally to hide its own weakness at home. That's right, our economy's dog shit, and Donald Trump is doing everything he can to distract from the Epstein files and to prepare the ground for subjugating its own people in Chicago, Portland, New York City, etc. If you think by election day in November, we're not going to have heavy militarized forces in large democratic cities like Chicago, Portland, New York, LA, etc., I got a bridge to sell you. Would you like the Manhattan Bridge, the 59th Street Bridge? How about the George Washington Bridge? That's a big one. So after it was all over, Donald Trump went on his favorite safe space, Fox News. I love Fox News, choking you out like a gasper.
Mr. President, throw your support behind opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who, as you recall, won the Nobel Peace Prize and then in turn dedicated it to you for your efforts in pressuring Maduro. Are you going to fully support her to take over to run the country?
Well, we're going to have to look at it. Right now, they have a vice president, as you know. I mean, I don't know about what kind of an election that was, but, the election of Maduro was a
I'm sorry, Maria. You should have never accepted it. You should have turned it down and said, just give it to Donald Trump because he's the greatest man in the world, but you fucked up and you took it. Dedicating it to me doesn't mean anything, honey. I'm sorry, it sucks to suck. By the way, the peace president just in 2025 has bombed Venezuela, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Nigeria, Yemen, and Somalia. So, no more wars, folks. Trust me, I would never do that. We kicked out all the warmongers. Kamala Harris would have given us World War III, but instead you get me, and I don't do any of that stuff because I'm such a nice guy. Like I said, I wasn't lying about it. Trump hosts Netanyahu as guest of honor at lavish Mar-a-Lago New Year's celebration party. That's why people are speculating that Netanyahu was the one that talked him into bombing him. I don't know, man, but every time these guys get together, bombs end up getting dropped. Breaking. As the U.S. invades Venezuela, Israel launches airstrikes throughout Gaza. Missile strikes on Jabalia, reports just now. Netanyahu never lets a war go to waste. This is actually pretty hilarious. Before Donald Trump just went out there and said, yeah, it was us. We bombed Venezuela. We took it over. We snatched and kidnapped Maduro. Fox News was already laying the groundwork to make an excuse for him, saying, no, it wasn't Trump. It was the cartels. But then 15 minutes later, Donald Trump lets the cat out of the bag. It's fucking hilarious.
And because if in the back and forth of the rhetoric, it was if the Iranian regime was trying to use in an asymmetric fashion a terrorist attack against the United States, and they were using their assets in Venezuela. That could have been a trigger for this. If, say, the Venezuelans were preparing to attack U.S. forces, that could have been a preemptive strike against those forces as well. But the most interesting one, which also I think needs to be considered, is that it could be an internal or the cartels themselves trying to rise up to take out Maduro themselves. Or internal, a military coup, much not unlike how Hugo Chavez first tried to come to power. So all of the above still in the cards. The only losers in the end of this, if the regime actually collapses, is the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians at the end of
Yep, it's always somebody else. It's never us. We would never do anything like that. Wait a minute. Come on now. You know we want that juicy oil. A little bit more from Trump in his safe space, Fox and Friends.
Evening. Tell us about it.
It was slightly busy, I would say. It was very dark all over, especially in Venezuela. The team did an incredible job. They rehearsed and practiced like nobody's ever seen.
Nobody's ever seen.
I was told by real military people that there's no other country on earth that can do such a maneuver. I've seen what happened. I mean, I watched it literally like I was watching a television show.
Because he was watching a television show. There are reports coming out that they had Twitter tabs open at Mar-a-Lago watching this whole thing unfold. They're literally getting their information like we get our information.
And if you would have seen the speed, the violence, they say that, the speed, the violence, they use that term. It was an amazing thing, an amazing job that these people did.
It's so amazing the way they drop the bombs. My nipples, they get so sensitive when I drop bombs. A little bit more of Trump on Fox and Friends, and he is mad because Democrats are not giving him his little pat on the back. They should be thankful.
The Democrats, maybe they'll take a shot. They'll take a shot. All they do is complain. They don't talk about, they should say, you know what, we did a great job. We're stopping drugs from coming into this country.
I thought it was about the oil. 5 minutes ago it was about the oil. What are you talking about?
And nobody's been able to do it until we came along. But they should say, great job. They shouldn't say, oh, gee, maybe it's not constitutional. The same old.
Yeah, man, it's not constitutional. I know that you're using it for toilet paper right now, but it is literally against the Constitution, what you're doing. We're also wiping our ass with the Geneva Convention by taking people's property on the open seas. Piracy, God damn, man. He is such a waste of fucking fresh air.
What do you see as the future of Venezuela's oil industry?
Well, I see that we're going to be very strongly involved in it. What can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and we're going to be very much involved in it.
Beware, Any brown man with a mustache and access to a lot of oil, I'm coming for you next. And it's not just Colombia and Panama and Greenland, it's also Mexico.
So was this operation a message that you're sending to Mexico, to Claudia Sheinbaum, the president there?
Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico.
No, honey, Sheinbaum is running her country. There are cartels there, but if you want to put that shoe on the other foot, how about oil companies are running America? Exxon and Chevron and Gulf are running Donald Trump's foreign policy.
Not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very...
We could be politically corrected and not invade her country and not shoot missiles into her country, but that's not what I do, folks. I'm not politically correct. I love doing war crimes.
You know, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico.
Honey, I'd be more frightened of you than the cartels. Jesus Christ.
I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No.
I've asked her many times, would you like me to invade your country? I'd be really soft. I'll be very gentle. But she keeps saying, no. She won't let me slip my hand up her skirt. We could be politically correct, or I could just go ahead and grab that pussy.
No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. You know, they like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people, and we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too.
Get the fuck out of here, man, with your 300,000 people die every time a boat goes into the Caribbean. 500,000, 1,400% off of your prescription drug prices. 1 million people die every 5 minutes due to the fentanyl coming from Venezuela. God damn, man. Tom Cotton decided to get in on the fun, and boy, there has never been a war that he did not want to stick his long neck into.
Can I ask you, Senator, was Congress or any of the committees notified in advance notice of this operation?
Not in advance, and that's probably one reason why it didn't leak over these 4 days.
No. We didn't need to be notified in advance. We just trust our daddy to do whatever he wants to do.
Because they are waiting for the right weather. But let me just make an analogy here. Again, Congress isn't notified when the FBI is going to arrest a drug trafficker or a cyber criminal here in the United States.
Yeah, but he's not here in the United States. He's a leader of a foreign country. What are you talking about?
Nor should Congress be notified when the executive branch is executing arrests.
I'm just abdicating all of my congressional power to the dear leader. He is the God King after all.
And that's really what you can make the analogy to. So Congress doesn't need to be notified every time the executive branch is making an arrest, and that's exactly what happened.
That was not an arrest, honey. That was an invasion of a foreign country, and we killed over 100 Venezuelans on day one. I'm sure there'll be more to come. But no. It was just an arrest of a drug trafficker that's sitting on a lot of oil that Donald Trump and all of our best oil companies want so goddamn bad. Don't you understand? Here he is again. I see a lot of criticism about oil. About 20 years ago, Venezuela expropriated American oil property until recently used a stolen property to get rich and fund their narco-terrorist activities. I understand the anxiety of using military force, but are we just supposed to allow a communist to steal our stuff in our hemisphere and do nothing about it? You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of this movie I watched a few years ago called Baby Driver. Jamie Foxx and his crew are about to go in and rob a bank, and they psych themselves up by saying that all of the money that's in that bank that does not belong to them was stolen from them and put in that bank. That's how they psych themselves up. Here, check it out.
They took our money, our hard-earned paper. They snuck in when we were asleep last night and took the parents off the chair and emptied our wallets. They got what's rightfully ours. Let's go get it back.
Sounds like J.D. Vance, sounds like Donald Trump. They're sitting on the oil that is rightfully ours. They're sitting on the gold and the minerals that is rightfully ours. How dare they be on the land that they were born on on top of all of that stuff that should be ours. We got to go in there and get it back. It's an interesting article from the History Channel. 10 times America helped to overthrow a foreign government. 1893, we did Hawaii. Why? Because of Dole pineapple, baby. That's why. They had a lot of pineapples out there, and our American company Dole wanted that island so goddamn bad, so we took that shit. They're sitting on what's rightfully ours. In Cuba, Teddy Roosevelt asserted America's right to intervene military in Latin America, and the U.S. began to do so more frequently, including Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Mexico, Haiti, Honduras, and Cuba. Iran in 1953, we overthrew Mossadegh because he did the horrible, dastardly, illegal activity of nationalizing his own country's oil. We kicked him out. We killed him. CIA, MI5 got together, snatched him out of there, disposed of him, and put the Shah back in power. 1954, we did it to Guatemala. 1960 through 65, we fucking killed everybody in the Congo, including Patrice Lumumba. 1963, Vietnam, baby. Gulf of Tonkin, absolute horseshit. Even McNamara agreed that it was a lie. 1973, we already talked about Pinochet taking over Allende. We put another military dictator in power in South America. And Pinochet was really cool, man. He used to take his enemies up in a helicopter and throw them out 500 feet above the ground and watch them splat on the street. He was a real awesome dude. 1981 to 1990, we did Nicaragua. That had a lot to do with what was going on with the Iran-Contra affair. Became public, resulting in congressional investigations. It was Ronald Reagan administration secretly and illegally sold arms to Iran in order to fund the Contras, a group the CIA had recruited and organized to fight the country's socialist Sandinistan government led by Daniel Ortega. 2001, we did Afghanistan. They didn't attack us. It was Osama bin Laden. And he wasn't even in Afghanistan. Turns out he was in Pakistan. But we needed revenge really fucking bad. So we invaded Afghanistan. And almost everybody in Congress voted for it. Almost. And then, of course, 2003, we did Iraq. And we are still there to this day. So America, we are an old hat when it comes to overthrowing countries for our own benefit. And let's not forget that just last month, Donald Trump pardoned cocaine kingpin who ruled Honduras. Juan Orlando Hernandez did about $400 million worth of drug trafficking, and Donald Trump pardoned him. But Maduro, narco-terrorist, folks, come on now. To all the Venezuelans who are in America right now, Venezuelans sent by Trump to El Salvador endured systematic torture. I'm just saying, you think that Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and fascist Barbie Kristi Noem are not going to either ship you back to Venezuela when this whole thing is over with, or you just might be next on the list to go to Bukele's dungeon in El Salvador. Don't think you're one of the good ones, folks. That's not how the Trump administration works. And let's not forget how it usually works with regime change wars. Eventually, the country is so destabilized that it is overtaken by another force that has absolutely no concern about the people's welfare and safety. Y'all remember what happened when a vacuum needed to be filled and ISIS was there to fill it. And that did not work out so well, did it? Drop site news, always doing good reporting. Reuters reports that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was captured in an operation involving U.S. Special Forces, including Delta Force, with an assistance from the CIA, a source inside Maduro's inner circle, and cooperation from the members of the Venezuelan military. So that whole story about whether or not the vice president was the one that turned him in or gave up all the dirt on Maduro, or was it the military, or was it the defense minister? We don't know that yet. I'm sure information will be coming out soon enough. But according to the U.S. officials and people briefed on the matter, a source close to Venezuelan opposition described the move as an inside job. A CIA source in Maduro's inner circle helped U.S. forces track his movements in his final days right up to his capture. The people who were briefed on the operation also said that members of the Venezuelan military cooperated with the United States to secure Maduro Maduro's arrest, but declined to provide details. Like I said, these guys are the fucking Keystone Cops, and they think that they just reinvented the fucking wheel here. Mission accomplished and all that bullshit. Y'all remember this? It was only a couple months ago, back in October. Trump says that he authorized the CIA in Venezuela as Maduro says no to regime change. Well, Donald Trump sent the CIA in, and that's probably one of the reasons why this was orchestrated so well. They had a couple of months inside the country to get as much information on Maduro as possible, and they went in there and they snatched his ass up. But like I said, Republicans, great at overthrowing countries, terrible at securing countries. This ain't over. New from the Washington Post, Delta Force units had established a pattern of life on Maduro in advance of the operation, mapping out his location and daily movements. According to a person familiar, a CIA covert operations unit identified where he and his wife were staying. Trump keeps claiming that Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, was sworn in as president of Venezuela and that she is in contact with Rubio. Haven't seen this reported on yet. Trump was repeatedly lying here, probably for psychological effect. The Russia story was fake too. VP Rodriguez is speaking now, and she keeps referring to Maduro as the president. She is demanding his immediate release of Maduro and Celia Flores.
Michael, I just want to, you talked to the president about what happens. He had said yesterday that they were trying to work with the vice president of Venezuela, who has now become the acting president. She had then said that she thinks Maduro is the president and is not interested in America being a colony. You have new news on this from President Trump.
That's right. I called him this morning a little after 9:30 a.m. He had just arrived at his golf club in West Palm Beach. And I asked him to...
I love that he just plays golf all the time. That's all he does, man. He tells Pete Kegsbreath what to bomb. He tells Marco Rubio that he's got a new job, and then he goes out and hits the fucking links.
Respond to what Delcy Rodriguez said yesterday in her televised address, which was not consistent with what the president had said in his press conference. And his answer to me was, if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. So it was a pretty clear threat to her.
Vice President Rodriguez here might just be saying all of this stuff in support of Maduro just to keep her own people calm, because if she just goes out there and says, I'm the new leader, Maduro's gone, get used to it, there might be an uprising, and the military is kind of what's running this country. So maybe she's just saying this to save face. I don't know yet, but I'm sure we're going to find out in the next couple of days. And by the way, saying that if you don't do what we say, it's going to be a lot worse for you than Maduro, that's kind of like, we're going to kill you. You know, what's worse than being captured and put on trial in America? Probably death.
And so I think this is still very much a live situation. I also asked him this morning about what's the difference between Iraq and Venezuela, because he was so against the Iraq war.
Yep.
It's so far away.
Towards the end, and his answer was, that's a question for President Bush. That wasn't my war.
That makes a lot of fucking sense. His war was bad. My war, very good. His war so far away. My war right in our backyard. Totally different story, folks. Oh yeah, y'all remember that there was a $50 million reward promised to somebody who helped in the capture of Nicolas Maduro? Well, Trump chimed in when Rubio mentioned the reward during today's presser, saying, "Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us." Donald Trump and the Trump administration is like a bad fucking slot machine, man. They never pay off. Ken Klippenstein is joining me on ragging Chucky the Shooms. He finally put out a statement in regards to what happened in Venezuela. Chuck Schumer finally gets around to commenting on Venezuela, saying the administration had assured me 3 separate times that it wasn't going to pursue regime change or take military action in Venezuela. Well, Chuck, it looks like they lied to you again. Go sit in the fucking cuck chair. Let me be clear. Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate dictator, but launching a military action without congressional authorization and without a credible plan for what comes next is very reckless. Every time I hear one of you motherfuckers start off your admonishment of Donald Trump for what he just did by saying, I agree with what he just did, Nicolas Maduro is a bad dictator. He's horrible. He's awful. He needs to go. But procedure. You didn't do it the right way. You didn't come ask my permission. What that says to me and what that says to most of America is that Donald Trump is just tough. He's a tough guy and he just went ahead and did it. And you guys are a bunch of weak little bitches. It just shows me how fucking weak, ineffectual, and unqualified for the job that you have as Senate Minority Leader. Man, you need to retire. Here's some more weak sauce from another weak sauce Democrat, Kamala Harris. Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. That Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator does not change the fact that his action was both unlawful and unwise. We've seen this movie before. Yeah, and we've also seen Democrats like you make excuses for the leadership and eventually all fall in line like a bunch of bitches. Every last one of you guys voted for the goddamn Iraq war. I know Kamala Harris wasn't in the Senate at the time, but every one of these people, including Chucky the fucking Schumes, all voted for that. And unfortunately, I have to do this too. Senator Bernie Sanders, most of the stuff that he says in his statement is pretty spot on, but he does exactly the same thing. Donald Trump has once again shown his contempt for the Constitution and the rule of law. The President of the United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country to war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro. My God, man. Maybe Maduro is a dictator. Maybe he is brutal. He is nothing in comparison to the guy who just fucking invaded him. God damn it, man. Stop apologizing for Donald Trump. I love you, Bernie, but sometimes, man, sometimes. Everything else he says is fine. You know, Trump's attack on Venezuela will make the United States and the world less safe. Trump and his administration have often said that they wanted to revive the Monroe Doctrine, which is right. It has been dead for a while, but here we are. Donald Trump wanting to reorganize it and call it the Donroe Doctrine, claiming the United States has a right to dominate the affairs of the hemisphere, which it does not. They've spoken openly about controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, the largest in the world. This is rank imperialism. So he is right in what he's saying in this statement, but you do not have to do that same thing that all the rest of them are doing, Bernie. You don't have to immediately go, he's a brutal dictator and he's got to go, but honestly, he should have asked our permission first. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is that Donald Trump is more of a dictator than any of the people that y'all are considering dictators and illegitimate leaders. Reminds me, in Donald Trump's first term, he marched out Juan Guaido at a State of the Union address, and fucking Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, everybody stood up and gave him a round of applause. And he didn't even come close to winning the election in Venezuela. He got like 2% of the vote and then was chased out of the goddamn country. And we bring him here with arms wide open saying, this is the legitimate leader. Meanwhile, he's got absolutely no fucking power. I wonder if Donald Trump's going to go back to that well and bring him back going, you want to take another shot at Venezuela? Come on, Juan. You know you want to do it. Now, here is how it's done. You got Graham Plattner. He's not in the Senate yet. God willing, he will win his election this year. But this is how you critique the dictator-tot-in-chief Donald Trump. This is how you do it. You don't ever give them fucking credit.
Seeing the insane news that's coming out of Venezuela. The government of the United States has illegally invaded a sovereign country and kidnapped its leader. That is what's happened. This is international gangsterism. That's what this is.
He's right.
There are going to be people in the American political space, frankly, probably on both sides of the aisle, trying to convince us all that somehow this was justified. It isn't. Not at all. Our behavior against Venezuela over the past few months has been illegal. None of this has been authorized by Congress. None of this is being done in accordance with international law. Quite frankly, we're doing this because Donald Trump is afraid of what's in the Epstein files.
That's right.
They want us focused on something else. That's what's going on. Just a month ago, there was a vote in the Senate that would have required congressional input on any military action against Venezuela. It got voted down. Susan Collins is one of the people that voted against it and killed that resolution. That would have stopped this from happening. So over the next couple weeks, wherever this goes, just understand that this is a failure of the American political system. This is an absolute failure of our government. We are allowing an out-of-control rogue presidency invade foreign nations and kidnap their leaders. This is going to reduce us on the international stage. It is going to continue to see us become more isolated and taken less seriously. And on top of all of it, it's immoral and utterly disgusting. I call on all Americans to turn out in opposition to this activity. This is not the behavior of a government that cares about the American people. This is behavior of a government that is lashing out with military force because it is afraid that its domestic failures are going to result in political failure. That's what's happening, and we need to stop it.
That is the kind of leadership that we need. That is the kind of political rhetoric that we need. We're watching this shit in real time. We're watching mainstream media make the justifications just the same way they did in 2003. We're watching political figures on both the right and the left make excuses for it or critique Donald Trump for not following the process correctly. Doing the right thing by getting rid of the dictator, but not doing it the right way by asking our permission first. You're all a bunch of fucking bitches. You need to stand 10 toes down. You need to stand on fucking principle. This is against international law. This is unconstitutional. This is piracy on the high fucking seas. This is war crimes. And Donald Trump is the war crime president in chief. Nobody has ever been more corrupt than Donald Trump. Nobody has ever taken more payoffs than Donald Trump. He has surrounded himself with bootlicking sycophants that do whatever the fuck he says. And the chances of him having the 25th Amendment imposed upon him by getting him out of office are slim to fucking none. The only thing we can do is vote our fucking asses off in 2026 and hopefully get some Democratic leaders that actually have the guts and the fortitude to stand up to this shit, as opposed to just sitting around picking their nose in the corner like Chucky the Shooms or Hakeem Jeffries. God damn it, man. This is beyond frustrating. I'm watching people acting like this is no big deal. This is just normal everyday stuff. This is out of the fucking ordinary. This is extraordinary. Even George W. Bush and Dick Cheney weren't this fucking brazen. At least they had the common courtesy to fake it and lie to us a little bit about it. Donald Trump is just straight up out of his mouth with, "It's for the oil. Of course it's for the oil. And we're going to go take it because it's ours." And meanwhile, we do not have an opposition party. Got a handful of people out there that don't have any power, and everybody else is basically relegating its power to Donald Trump. The entirety of the Republican Party has just relegated all of its congressional authority and all of its judicial authority to the God King, the unitary executive. Because ultimately that's what they want. They want a monarch. They want a dictator in chief. So all of us need to make sure we stay vigilant. I know this is going to be a tough year, man. 2026 is going to be a motherfucker, man. We're going to see a lot of heinous shit. We're going to see more invasions. Do I think that Greenland, Panama, Colombia are on the table? I think they're on the table within the next couple of months. And I also think that it is a very good chance that Donald Trump will deploy some military forces to protect the voting. They've already made some changes in the postal codes, so it'll make it much more difficult for you to vote by mail. So it's going to be a lot of people having to stand in line to make sure that their vote gets counted. They're doing everything they can to make sure that there are going to be voter ID laws in place in a lot of red states. It's not going to happen in blue states, but if you're in a blue city in a red state, count on that shit. Make sure that you're proactive. Make sure that your name is still on the voter rolls, because they're doing everything they can to knock you off. This is the only bit of power we've got left, and we've got to make sure that we use it, or otherwise they will take whatever the fuck they want to. This is an unruly regime hell-bent on gathering as much power unto themselves as they possibly can. They want this to be the fucking Fourth Reich, or I've heard people say calling it the Turd Reich. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I said to them, the only reason why we joined Russia in defeating Hitler wasn't because we were trying to protect freedom and democracy. They were biting on our thing. We are the fucking hegemon. We are the fascistic power on this planet. And there is no way in hell that they were going to let Hitler do what we rightfully do. Here in America, we pioneered that shit. Hitler even said he got his ideas of ethnic cleansing from what we did to the Native Americans here in America. He learned from us. We are the OGs of fascism. We are the OGs of imperialism. And the only way to stop that is for us to be vigilant, for us to actually pay attention to what's going on in this world and stand up against this tide of authoritarianism. You are your only hope. I hope that all of us do the right thing and stand up against this. I know that was a long one, folks, and if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that what I gave you was informative and mildly entertaining. I know it's not very entertaining subject matter, but I really appreciate you sticking it out and watching this all the way through to the end. And if you did, like and subscribe. It would be awesome. All right, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later. You take care. Bye-bye. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.